So guys, see what happens. Your stakeholders will come and they will come with a problem. They will tell you like user experience has to be improved. We have to increase the conversion rate also, and then we have to strengthen customer engagement. Then the next question that they have to discuss is how they're supposed to measure these three objectives. How will they know whether these things have improved or not? So for that, they have to focus on key results. So in key result, your stakeholders will specifically tell you how they are thinking to enhance your user experience, right? So they will tell you like, okay, we have to increase average session duration on product pages by 20%, right? So basically currently if I'm the user of any e-commerce platform and I'm spending on an average 1 minute, so I have to make sure that I'm increasing my engagement time or my experience with that, my engagement with that particular application should increase by 20%, which is like 12 more minutes, right? So I should now start spending 1.12 minutes on a website, right? So that's how you are going to to track if user experience has enhanced or not, right? So based on the objective, you will define these key results, and these key results should be measurable, right? So basically these are the two things, and then again your stakeholders will also talk about the rationale, like why do they think that if average session duration is increased by 20%, and if we can achieve 90% positive feedback on cart utility, then why your management thinks that it will improve the user experience? So for that they have to submit a rationale. So your stakeholders can tell you like, by focusing on improving browsing and cart management, we aim to enhance user engagement and satisfaction as measured by session duration and user feedback. So basically your stakeholders are saying like, we will collect users feedback and we will see if 90% of those feedbacks are positive. If 90% of the feedbacks are positive, then we will say like, yes, our user experience has improved, right? Similarly they will go for the session duration. They will track if session duration is increasing, so it basically implies like your users are liking your product, right? And their aim is to increase it by 20%, right? So like that, what your stakeholders will do, they will define the OKRs, they will define the key results, and then they will explain you the rationale. So these are the three things that your stakeholders will be discussing with your product owner. So this is the kind of discussion that take place between product owner and a stakeholder, right? So this is like the end result. That's how, this is the beginning of your project. Any question till now? Are you guys understanding how the communication between stakeholders and product owner happen? Can you just unmute yourself and tell me if you have understood this dynamic?
Hi Ankit, Jagan here. I just have one
Yeah.
question. Like as you mentioned, uh,
Hmm.
that OKR objective, can we consider that as a theme and associated epics as effects and
Yeah.
key
Yeah. So
results, user
we will
story
talk about
and
that.
yeah, okay,
We will talk about that. But I just want to
okay, fine.
understand if you guys have understood how product owner and stakeholders communicate with each other.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, we got the idea.
Yeah. So basically, you must have heard like your product owner is in a order meeting with with the business people, with the commercial team, right? So in that case what basically happens, those people, the business people and your product owner, they are sitting together. And business people, they are mostly business oriented, they focus on the market, they focus on the profit and losses and competitive landscape. So based on that information they decide the objectives, like this is the direction in which we have to move. And based on that understanding they share their OKRs with the product owner, saying that okay, currently this is the current state of our product and these are the improvements that we want to see. So this is the kind of discussions that generally happen between stakeholders and PO. Yes, Ruksa, you have a question?
Yeah, Ankit. So I wanted to know that key results are only KPIs. The KPIs are different.
KPIs are basically different. Key performance. So basically, see, KPIs are created or they are defined based on the key results, right? So, for example, one of the KPI is session time. That is a KPI, but that session time we are recording that session duration because we want to increase the conversion rate. We want to increase the session time by 20%. So the result is there, and based on that result, you will define the KPIs. Right? Cool.
Got
Okay.
Hey, sorry to
So
interrupt,
this
Becky.
is
Just
the
one
yeah
question.
yeah.
This OKR objective, who will collect that? Is it product owner or business analyst?
Mostly business analyst and product owner will be sitting together. This is a process of creating your BRDs and FRDs also, right? So based on this discussion only, your requirement documents will be built.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's say now currently what happened. So what we have understood. Hi Shekhar. Yeah, you're on mute.
I just want to add one thing. It means this is regarding the KPI. The KPI is basically these. You already written all those things. If session duration is one of the KPI. Completion rate is another KPI. Abandoned
Yeah.
cart rate is another KPI.
Right. Right. Yeah. So basically, KPI is a subset of result. That's the summary. Yeah, Shekhar, very true. Great. So guys, see what we have understood till now. We have understood like there's a stakeholder. He has shared his requirement. Product owner has collected that requirement. Now, as a next step, your your Scrum team has to build and deliver these capabilities. But do you think like if you can just go to your technical team and you tell them like, see, we have to increase our customer engagement by 20%, so build this functionality. Do you think your developers will understand such kind of language? If yes, then why? And if no, then why? What do you think? What will be the next question of developers? Anyone? Yes, Shekhar?
Yeah, we need to give the complete detail, step by step information how to achieve that thing. Well, let's talk
Hmm.
about the session duration. Right now, if session duration is suppose 20%, and if we are asking developers, we need to make the modification in the product so that it can increase to 40. So then we need to give the step by step information. Otherwise, they can't figure it out what they need to develop or what they need to modify in the current project or product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So step by step. So basically, granular detail is required so that they understand like what exactly need to happen. But this is a big picture. This is a blurry picture. Cool. Yeah, Surbhi.
Yeah, I was also about to say the same what which Shekhar has said. So it is like we need to break down. We have to break it in granular level so that it will be easy for development or Scrum team to understand that that's how the user stories are built and developers work on it.
Yeah, right. So basically, we have to break them down, right? So as a next step, so how to break these stories down? That's the next step that we have to understand. So basically, next step is how to break down these OKRs and how to represent these OKRs in front of your Scrum team so that they understand them first and then they start building on it, right? So this is the next step. So how to develop, how to break down these OKRs into workable stories, that's the next thing that we are going to understand. And for that only, I had asked you like, how do you use an e-commerce platform? So these are the stages that you have already told, right? So you basically go to website, search for product, add to cart, pay account modification, and then you start tracking, right? So these are the things. So let's see. So basically, whenever you try to break an OKR or whenever you try to collect the requirement from the stakeholder, you always have to think from the end user perspective, right? So, for example, I just asked you, and Surabhi said, like, this is the way that I will be using that application, right? So, these stakeholders or business people, they generally think from the end user perspective, and the first thing that they have to decide is what will be the behavior of our user when they start using our application. So how they are going to navigate, right? So mentally they will start not mentally, like based on the data they understand like how generally users use their application, right? So they know that if somebody is going to visit our application, first thing that they will be doing is they will browse the products, right? Once the browsing part is done, then they will move the selected products into the cart. Once the product is in the cart, then they will place the order. That is, they will do the payment. Once the payment is done, then we will check if they wanna. Then we'll check for the address where we have to deliver that product. So so users may also update their address or account information. And once the order is placed, then users may want to track the order, like when are they going to receive their order, right? So this is the journey that they understand, right? So the same journey they will define here also, right? So basically what they are doing, so your stakeholders will think at this level. So your stakeholder will say like, okay, a user can come to our application for browsing the product. Then they will be using some cart functionality. Then we should have checking out functionality so that users can place the order. And then we also have managing account functionality so that users can update or they can modify any account information, right? And then finally handling order, like if they want to track, if they want to contact customer support, if they want to raise any grievances and all those things, right? So these are the big themes that we have, and these are the big functionalities that we need in our e-commerce website. So this is the level of discussion that your product owner and your stakeholders are having till now, right? So don't worry about these terms like what is epic and all those stuff, but just focus on just try to understand this concept, like how a project is assumed in an organization, right? So first stage was OKR building. Second stage is breaking down these OKRs into manageable tasks. So these are the manageable functionalities. But still, when we say that we have to browse, we should have a browsing functionality on our application. What we are basically saying, right? So basically, what we are saying is, let me quickly open one of these. Right. Okay, so basically, if I'm saying, right, so now if I'm a product owner and I'm talking to a stakeholder, and stakeholder tells me like I need a browsing product functionality. So I'll say like, okay, in browsing functionality, we can have four different kind of functionalities, right? The first functionality could be view product categories, right? And because as a user you need to look at the categories, right? So in which category you want to shop. So that's the first thing. If you are talking about browsing, then you have to browse by category. That's first thing. Second option in browsing category could be we need to have a search for product functionality, right? So there would be thousand of product. If I am browsing, then I should be able to search for the relevant product, right? The third thing will be filter and sort products, right? So we should be having a lot of filters based on which we can just remove the unnecessary products, and we can just focus on the selected products, right? Then in browsing, we can also have view product details, right? Of course, if you are purchasing something, you need to look at the details. You need to understand if those if the points that are mentioned in the description meets your expectation, then only you are going to place an order, right? So basically, what has happened, we have further see in first stage, what we did, we understood the OKR. Then what we did, we broke that OKR into four major themes: browsing, managing, checking, managing account, and handling orders. Now what we are doing, we are breaking down these high level tasks into smaller tasks. So browsing products are further divided into four smaller tasks, which is view product categories, search for products, filter and sort products, view products, right? So similarly, what we will do, we will just break down all these right? So what we have done, we have broken down all these big stories into smaller stories. So these are the smaller granular tasks that your Scrum team has to perform. Then only we can say that our browsing products functionality is done, right? So till now, what we have done till now, we have divided the OKR into smaller uh, tasks, and then we further divided that smaller task into more smaller tasks, right? So these are known as epics. Browsing product is an epic, managing cart is an epic, checking out is an epic, managing account is an epic, right? So these are epics. Why I am calling them as epic? Because these big stories are further divided into smaller four stories. Now these four stories that are coming out from this big story, these stories are known as user stories, and mostly these user stories should be written from the end user perspective. So for example, when I asked Surbhi, like, how will you use that e-commerce application, so she was talking from her perspective, right? Therefore we have to write these descriptions from end user perspective. So for example, end user is saying, as a user I want to view product categories to easily find products, right? So this is a user behavior that we are trying to uh, sorry, Hasnan. Hasnan, your hand is up. Any question?
Yeah, I had a question actually. I just wanted to know
Yeah.
what is the structure we are following while explaining these requirements here. As at the moment, I work in scaled agile framework. So we have epics, capabilities, features, and then user stories, and then tasks. And I've worked in Azure DevOps as well, where we had this structure where epics are broken down into features, and then features are further broken down into user stories and more granular level at the tasks level. So over here, I don't see features you're mentioning, so I just wanted to clarify that if my
Yeah.
understanding is correct or not.
Okay, okay. So first point is, if you are using Jira, then in Jira, features and epics, they are the same things, right? So if you open your Jira tool, then there, if you open Epic, there will be an I button. You click on I button, you will see features and epics are same in Jira, right? So if you are saying it's a feature, if you are saying it's an epic, so basically you are saying like it is a big story that can be further divided into smaller stories. Is that the point of view that you hold, Hasnan?
I am looking at the Jira board. So right now I'm working at on Jira only. I am looking at my
Mm-hmm.
Jira board and I have epics mentioned differently and then
Mm-hmm.
features mentioned differently over here. And we have
Mm-hmm.
renamed our epics as versions. So I'm not sure if that's what you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about. So
Yeah,
we've
so
got
see
version
again,
feature. Mhm.
as I said, company to company, right? So in
Mhm,
your
mhm,
company, they have that workflow. Your company's workflow will be different. The way you
mhm.
understand tickets, that will be different. Definitions will be different. But in short, you will be having a hierarchy, right? There will be a hierarchy where you are connecting your vision with epics, features, and stories and tasks. So there will be an hierarchy. That's the main concept. But yes, the structure
Okay.
may be changed based on the company to company, right?
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So here, what we are saying, browsing products, right? So browsing product is first epic. So basically, what we are saying, like based on the OKRs that we have received, we have created these five big stories. These are the five epics, and then we have further divided these five epics into smaller user stories, right? So now that's how, this is how we are collecting, we are gathering the requirement from the stakeholders. That's how we are recording the requirements that we are getting from stakeholders, right? Now my next question will for you will be, if you go to your developers and you tell them like, okay, these are the four stories, I want to view product categories to easily find out products, do you guys think that your developers will understand this? Still, do you think they
No,
will understand this requirement?
no, no.
No.
Uh,
No.
Hmm? Okay, no. So because still they don't understand, they do not have a clear direction, like how exactly do
Mm-hmm.
you want us to proceed with the product categories, right? So they do not
Okay.
have that granular understanding. Else, please be on. Great. All right. So basically, the story is still not very granular. You still need to convert the story into more granular story so that your developers can understand it. Ultimately, developers are the people who are going to develop these functionalities, right? So till here, till user stories. So basically, your stakeholders, if you are working as a Scrum Master and you are managing a Jira board and you are putting a lot of tickets on that board, then till user stories, your business people, your stakeholders should understand till user stories. The language that you're supposed to use in user stories should be very easy to understand even for the people who are not technical. So this is a concept of maintaining the transparency on your Jira board, right? So till user stories, things are high level, non-tech people, business people can understand it. And your product owner and stakeholders generally collect requirement till this stage, right? So till user stories, your stakeholders should collaborate with your product owner, right? Now once user stories are created, then your product owner and your developer should sit together, and they have to convert these user stories into further technical tasks which can be measured, which can be tested, which can be demonstrated in the review meeting, right? So now from once you have all the user stories, then your product owner and developers will start working together, right? Now you guys can sit in the refinement meeting, you guys can sit in the planning meeting, and your product owner will explain these user stories to your developers, and then your developers will create technical tasks. So the next issue type that we'll be creating is tasks, which are mostly created by the developers after understanding the user stories. What do I mean by that? Okay, so for example, let's take call row number 3. We are saying that view product categories, and this is the story that we have created. As a user, I want to view product categories to easily find products, right? Now if you think from the developer's perspective, so to complete this story, a developer has to complete these three stories, these three tasks. The first task will be design category layout, right? So how that category view will look like. So mostly HTML and CSS related work they have to complete. The second story will be category navigation, right? So they have to just create a template or a design. Once the design is ready, then they have to make those components interact with each other, right? They have to make them dynamic, and there they will have to use JavaScript as the technology when they start implementing category navigation. And third is they have to test category links, right? So your developers have designed the category layout, they also have implemented that functionality. Now they also have to test if that category navigation is working fine or not, right? So in your refinement meeting, basically this is something that will be happening. Your product owner will be talking about user stories, your developers will be asking questions to understand the meaning of these user stories, and then based on their understanding they will be writing these tasks. So to complete this one user story, your developers have to complete these three tasks, right? And these three tasks are mostly technical in nature. If you study these tasks, you will understand, like, developers are talking about the tools, about the technologies, about the scripts that they will be using to build this product. Now this level of knowledge is so if your stakeholders come and they have a look at the tasks that your developers have created, then chances are high that they will not understand these tasks because they are too technical, they are too low level uh, explanation of the stuff, right? But your developers and product owner will understand this thing, right? So have you understood now? So earlier I was talking about the interaction between a stakeholder and a product owner. So that interaction will last from OKRs till the creation of user stories. Once user stories are created, then the communication and collaboration will begin between the product owner and the developers, where they will have to sit and create the technical tasks. Is this point clear, guys? any questions. If you have, please raise your hand. Yes, Jagannath, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just have one question. Like, who will create this user stories in Jira?
So mostly you see currently what we are doing. So again, different companies, different process. But let me tell you how generally how it happens generally, right? So wherever your
Okay.
stakeholder and product owner are having a meeting, so mostly a business analyst will be sitting there, and mostly business analyst will be recording these epics, and he'll be recording the description, or he or she will be just collecting the requirements, right? And then product owner and it's good if your scrum team is also allowed in that kind of meeting. So your whole scrum team and stakeholders, they all just sit together, and then they have to
Mhm.
create these user stories. Now the main point is not who is creating the user story, but the main focus will be on if the user stories are making sense to your stakeholders or not, if your stakeholders are understanding whether if your stakeholders are understanding those user stories or not. Your stakeholders should be satisfied, and they should say yes, these user stories have collected all our requirement accurately, we are happy with these user stories. So mostly your product owner and business analyst will sit together, and they will just create these user stories.
Okay, okay. I mean, you mean to say in Jira tool?
So initially, let's focus
Uh-huh.
on Excel only. So in Excel, mostly your business analysts, they can directly use Jira. That's totally fine. But generally, they
Okay,
use
okay.
Excel first, right? They record these requirements in Excel on some other tool, and then from this they will move this requirement to Jira. We will look how these requirements are moved to
Okay.
Jira. We'll look after this point, right?
Got it, got it.
But
Thank you.
point is that's how you collect the requirement. That's how you collect the requirement from the stakeholder, and you break down those requirements into smaller, manageable user stories, and then developers further divide those user stories into technical tasks. Till user stories stuff should be very easy to understand. It should be written in easy to understand language so that business people can also understand what work is happening in this team. Afterwards, tasks, bugs, subtasks, those things are a bit complicated. Those things are written from the technical perspective, and your business people might or might not understand those stories, right? So so that's how requirements are gathered and further broken down into smaller work. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Jagannath, your hand is up. Okay.
Sorry.
Any question from anyone till now? No question. Good. All right. So we have created the story, and we also have written the description, right? Now it is important for us to understand when we can say like this story is done. When do you think, right? Because developers will be working together, they are developing this story, but we have to have certain rules based on which we can understand whether this story is done or not. So how will we test this story basically? And for that, we have to write acceptance criteria, right? So in acceptance criteria, for example, let's again take example of third. So as a user, I want to view product categories to easily find products. So this is the user story that we have to do. Now the acceptance criteria for this particular user story will be categories are listed on the home page and navigable, right? So this is the acceptance criteria that we have written. So when stakeholders will meet the scrum team in the review meeting, they will be checking this thing. If category section is there and they are able to navigate it or not. If those things are happening, then we can say that story is done. Else we cannot say that story is done, right? Of course, there is a concept of definition of done also, but let's not go into that technical detail. What is DOD and acceptance criteria? So, but yes, please clarify your concept of DOD and acceptance criteria, because if you have to say that a story is done, then you are basically saying that it has met all the parameters that are defined in definition of done. Acceptance criteria is one of those parameters that are defined in definition of done, right? So but yes, every story, for every story you have to write an acceptance criteria. right? And these acceptance criteria are very important because in your refinement meeting, in your planning meeting, your product owner will be mostly focusing on the acceptance criteria, right? Description is easy, it's fine, but acceptance criteria are very crucial, right? Because based on those acceptance criteria, your functionalities will be tested, right? So again, acceptance criteria and description. You should have a meeting with your stakeholders before writing down the acceptance criteria of any of these stories, right? Okay, all right. Shaker is saying that the meeting session will start in 4 minutes. So guys, if you want to rejoin after 4 minutes, please rejoin. Or if you want me to create a Google link, so let me know that as well. Okay, but please try to rejoin this session only. All right, so till now everything is clear, right? So your stakeholders and product owner, they sat together, they created the OKR. From OKR they created the epics. From epics they created the user stories, and for every user stories, your OKR, your stakeholders and your product owners have defined the acceptance criteria. Now your product owner has all the requirements from the stakeholders. Now your product owner will move into the refinement meeting and he will start discussing these user stories and acceptance criteria with the developers. Any question from anyone till now, or is this process of requirement gathering is clear?
Ankit, I just have one question.
Yes, Minal.
Yeah. So, when we say that the Scrum Master has to help the product owner to write the user stories, so till this
Yeah,
point, Scrum Master's role would be there, helping
yeah,
to product owner.
yeah. So see, first of all, how these things should be done, how OKR should be broken down, why we should have OKR, why, what is key result, why we need rational, and then how we have to break down those AKRs into epics, what should be the structure of that epic, how those epics should be divided into user stories, how those user stories should be written, how acceptance criteria should be added, why acceptance criteria are useful. So all these things should be explained to a product owner and stakeholder by a scrum master. So this is your responsibility. People don't understand these things, so you have to explain these things to your PO and to your stakeholders meeting. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
yeah. Any other question?
Yeah,
Anyone?
Ankit, I have a question here. As a
Yes,
Scrum
Nilda.
Master, when I'm
Mm-hmm.
new to a project and I'm writing down
Mm-hmm.
my user stories according to the BRD provided to my by my stakeholders here. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm writing those user stories, if I have
Mm-hmm.
any queries, like there could be instances where I'm unable to jot down all the user stories clearly. Like I know the
Mm-hmm.
epics, right? I know
Yeah.
what I have to do with the product. That also, when I'm writing down the epics, I need to get it clarified from the product owner, from the stakeholder rather, the business. So
Mm-hmm.
how does that process go? Is it okay to ask business those questions? Because as a scrum
Yeah,
master,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever
See,
understanding
as
that I receive, I'm asking the questions from the client. Okay, from your perspective, this is the BRD. Accordingly, I've jotted down your requirements. I've listed these. So my product, which we will be developing, it will be having so and so epics. Under those, these are the user stories, and these are the functionalities that each of these epics would be providing. Listing down to the granular level, which you've just mentioned.
yeah,
So
so
as
we
a
have 20
question,
seconds.
yes.
Let me just tell you this very quickly, and then we'll again rejoin the same meeting. So see,
Okay.
we also have second agile manifesto that says that you should always collaborate with your customer instead of talking about contracts, right? So it is
Right.
always a good activity. You should go back to
Mhm.
your stakeholders. You should go back to your business analysts, and you have to
Mhm.
clarify these things before you start explaining these things to your scrum master. That's before you do your scrum.
Okay.
I have muted everyone. Okay, cool. So guys, see what has happened now. So I hope you understood this dynamic, how requirements flow from stakeholders to your developers, right? So this much is done. Now what we have done, we have also defined the acceptance criteria. We have defined these tasks and we have defined the stories. Now the next step is prioritizing, right? How would you decide like which of these stories you should start working first, right? So these are the stories, these are the there were epics also, right? So how will you decide which story you are going to work first, which story are you going to work second, and all those things? And to decide this order, you have to be conscious about the dependencies, right? So let's talk about dependencies, right? So we have this column. Let me hide this. Okay. Now what we are seeing here is, okay. So see, what we are saying that in browsing product, we have to complete these four stories. And to complete these four stories, we have created four tasks also, and we have defined the acceptance criteria. And then we have to start working on managing the card functionality, right? Now, but we have a dependency. What is that dependency? Add product to the cart, right? So this story, right? So if you are going to work on view the cart story, you cannot start working on this story until unless this story add products to the cart is done, right? So when can you view a cart? You can only view a cart if there are some products in that cart, right? So that functionality should be done before you start working on this particular story, right? And similarly, update product quantities, right? So how can you update the product quantities in a cart if there are no products in that cart? So therefore, if you want to start working on this particular functionality, then you have to make sure that your add products to the cart functionality is done before this, right? So that's how you have to highlight the dependencies, right? So for example, choose a payment method. So this functionality cannot start until unless enter shipping information functionality is done, right? So similarly, against all the stories, you have to define the dependencies, right? So whenever you hear the term dependency, you are mostly talking about ordering of the stories. So dependencies are very important to decide the order of your stories. When you are going to complete first story, when you are going to complete second, third, fourth. So that sequence of the story is decided based on the dependencies of each of these stories, right? So that is also very important. So that's, we will see how these dependencies are created on Jira. But when you are collecting these requirements, you have to make sure that you are highlighting those dependencies as well. This is very important part. Yes, Shekhar, you have a question?
Yeah, there is two type of dependency. One's dependency is related with the task or or the user story, and the second dependency is the related with the technology. For example,
Yeah.
many of the JavaScript code does not work properly on different type of browsers. So where we need to define that thing, that will be the part of the acceptance criteria or the DoD.
So for that, if see, in short, there can be different kind of dependencies. You can have dependencies on teams, you can have dependencies on tasks, you can have dependencies on technologies. But see, when you create a dependency in Jira, there's only one ticket named as dependency. But if you want to highlight like this is a technical dependency, then you can start using some kind of labels, right? So you can use technical dependency as a label. So all the tickets that have technical dependency as their label will be listed together, right? So that is one way. Second way is you can mention this in the description only, like this is a technical dependency, this is a task dependency, like that, right? But mostly those things can be managed by labels. But connecting dependencies is something which we will understand very soon, right? Any question related to dependencies till now? So before, so when we, whenever, so it is very important to highlight the dependency whenever we are collecting the requirement. I hope you guys understood this point. Okay. Now, once dependencies are clear, yes, Hemant,
Ankit, so there will be the dependencies which are external, right? Some
there
third
are
party,
dependencies.
which are with other teams also there will be some dependencies. So how do we track
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. So that we will see. We will see
Okay.
on Jira board how exactly we track these dependencies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But you have to define the dependencies at the time of gathering the requirement. That is one thing. Second thing is we guys are working at a project level, right? And anything could go wrong, right? So we also have to make sure that those risks are also captured properly, right? And those risks are very important part, and you have to keep an eye on those risks, because risk can impact your project in more than one ways. It can impact the cost, it can impact the time as well as the scope. So you have to be very conscious about the risk, right? So how to highlight those risks, right? So for example, let's talk about this. Let us say browsing product. So this is an epic. Yes, Jagannath, you have a question before I start the discussion?
Ankit, yeah. When it comes to dependencies, if suppose we have already started to build the product, okay, and in between, if you come to know, we have one dependency, like maybe any kind of like testing related or any kind of dependencies, but that was not
Yeah,
defined on
earlier.
earlier phase. So in such cases, how can we mitigate such kind of situation?
Define now. As soon as you come to know about these challenges, define it then and there. That's fine.
Okay, in the middle of like development, can we do that?
Yeah, of course, you have to do that, but don't try to make this a habit, right? You have to make such kind of decisions proactively, right? So if you are an experienced scrum master, then these kind of things you should know well in advance. But if you are a fresher, if you are doing it for the first time, then yeah, you of course you have to learn these things with experience, right?
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about risks, right? So, for example, let's say what could be the risk associated with browsing the product, right? So, risk is potential performance issues due to large product catalog, right? So, if you are creating a product catalog, there might be so many products listed there, and therefore the time it takes to load the performance of that particular functionality might not at par, right? So that could be a risk. View product category, right? So risk is category may not be properly mapped or updated, right? So because in category you have to map like this is t-shirt category and this is the size. So basically some kind of mapping is required when it comes to product catalogs, right? So that mapping might not function properly. That could be a risk, right? Similarly, you have to define all the different kind of risk. For example, if you have to talk about contact support, so support response delays could impact customer satisfaction, right? So even though we are doing all these things in advance, but still these things may happen, because of which our customer satisfaction may go down, right? So these are the potential risks that you have to highlight, and these are the risks that you have to make visible to your stakeholders as well, right? Because if tomorrow these risks become reality, then of course your project will get delayed, the quality will get hampered, the cost might increase. So if these risks are not transparent to your stakeholders, then they might just come back to you and tell you like, why did not you tell all these things to us earlier? After all, you are an experienced product owner, then you should know such kind of risks well in advance, right? So always keep these risks transparent to your stakeholders. Always keep the dependencies transparent to your stakeholders, right? So that's how you have to record your risks and dependencies. Now, based on these risks, we create a risk register which looks like this. But we are not going to talk much about risk register because it's a part of dashboard. You have to create dashboard to highlight risk register. Yeah, but I hope till now we have discussed on Excel, we have discussed couple of things. The first thing that we understood is the dynamics between stakeholder and a PO, and the dynamics between a PO and a developer. So when stakeholders and product owners are sitting together, they are mostly trying to capture the requirements, right? So stakeholders are sharing the OKRs. Based on those OKRs, we are creating epics. Those epics are further divided into user stories. Then for each user stories, we are writing the acceptance criteria. For each user stories, we are also defining the dependencies so that we can decide the order in which those stories should be executed. And then we are also defining the risks that can impact our project in negative sense, right? So these are the things that we have done by that basically product owner and stakeholders have done by sitting together. Once product owner is very clear with these requirements, he will go to the Scrum team and he will start explaining these user stories along with the acceptance criteria to the developers. And then developers will start asking a lot of questions so that they can clearly understand these requirements. And once they understand these requirements clearly, they will start creating the technical tasks, right? And then again, for all those technical tasks also, you have to write acceptance criteria. But mostly developers are supposed to write down those tasks. Why I'm saying this? Because if developers are writing those tasks and if they are writing the acceptance criteria, then it implies that your developers have properly understood the requirement, right? So that's why it is generally said, and most importantly, your developers will be the people who are going to create these functionalities. So it makes sense that they should understand and they should write the technical story of the user story, which is known as task. So that's how we collect the requirement. This is the total thing that I'm going to show you on Jira also. But any question till now, or is this big picture clear to everyone?
Ankit, one small question. So may I
Yeah,
know
Kiran.
the difference between business analyst and uh,
Difference
just
between business analyst and
product owner? The roles between this business analyst and product. How does it differ?
so out of the context question, Kiran, but yes, you can directly call me and we can have such kind of discussions, right? But
Sure.
in short, business analysts are mostly about collecting the requirements and storing them in a particular structure, which is known as PRDs and BRDs. Product owner is mostly about managing, prioritizing, ordering those requirements in the backlog, and making sure the deliveries are happening as per the roadmap that you have shared with the stakeholders. Right? This is like the rough summary, but we can have a detailed discussion on this after the session. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Yes, Hemant.
Yeah, so who will identify these risks and who will maintain this risk register?
Yeah, so first of all, see, product owner are experienced people. They must have completed such kind of projects in the past. They can highlight some of the risks that they have learned from their experiences. Then developers are the people who will be working on these stories, and they understand what kind of risks that they may face at the time of developing those functionalities. So they can also highlight these risks. Now, business people, they are keeping an eye on the market and they're keeping an eye on the competition also. So they can also highlight some of the risks. So it is not anyone's responsibility, but it is the responsibility of the team to highlight any risk which they think that the team might face. Yeah.
So that risk register will be there, right?
Yeah.
So that will be maintained by the PO or the Scrum team.
See, by the Scrum team also, as a Scrum Master, you can just create a risk register, right? And then you can ask your product owner to populate the risk there. You can ask your technical leads, you can ask your Scrum team members to populate the risk there. And as a Scrum Master, you have to make sure that this risk register is transparent to your stakeholders or to everyone who is associated with this project. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Rutsa.
Yeah, Ankit, so I have a question regarding dependencies. So,
Mm-hmm.
dependencies will be from both sides, right? One from business side as well as one from the technical side. So,
Mm-hmm.
dependency will be predominantly defined by whom? The developers or by the product owner?
See, high level dependencies can be defined by stakeholders or product, mostly by product owners only. For example, you it's a common sense, right? Uh, if you have to edit products in a cart, then the cart functionality should be there, right? That's the common sense, right, Utsa? So
Yeah.
such kind of high level dependencies can be defined by anyone who can just use the common sense. The technical dependencies are basically dependencies. For example, if I'm a developer and I'm working and I'm building a data product, let us say, right? And to build that data product, I need to access couple of tables. But there are some people who are from some other team who are the owners of those tables. So I have to raise an access request. So this is the technical dependency which I know as a developer, which I will face. So I have to highlight these dependencies as a developer. Making sense, Utsa?
Yeah. So, and the Scrum Master's role will be to mitigate these dependencies, right?
To resolve these dependencies. Yeah, so many times if your if developers have highlighted if developers have raised these access requests, many a times people are not responding to them, so you can come into the picture, you can try to expedite this process so that those dependencies can be resolved faster. You can call in some subject matter expert who can help your developer with some other ways to resolve these blockers, right? So dependencies can become blockers very soon, right? So as a scrum master you can help them in resolving those challenges. Yeah.
Thank you, Ankit.
Yeah. Yes, Abhishek.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great. I wanted to confirm actually, is the acceptance criteria somewhat similar to definition of ready? Like acceptance criteria we have written on Excel sheet, and definition of ready would
Mm-hmm.
be like obviously on product backlog and everything in Jira. So is
Uh,
it
uh,
somewhat similar?
mhm. No, they are not similar because definition of ready speaks about the story, whether your story is ready to be
Mm-hmm.
developed or not, in rough
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? So when we say if a story is ready, then we are talking like all the parameters of that
Mm.
story are there. For example, the title is there, priority is there,
Okay.
story point is there, description is there, acceptance criteria is there,
Okay.
wireframe diagrams are attached, and all those things. But
Okay.
acceptance criteria is a part of definition of ready, right?
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Hasnan.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to contribute to the discussion since we're talking a lot about the dependencies. So I just wanted to share a quick experience of mine. So we
Mm-hmm.
have something called PI plannings where all the everybody involved in the project they get together and they talk about the overview of the project and higher level of the requirement and everything. And that's where higher level of the dependencies are identified. And after that, when we have conversations with different parties like developers, business analysts, product owners, or whoever is interested in the project, or whoever is the stakeholder in that project. So as in when you have the conversation with the people, the dependencies are identified at most granular level, or like the user stories. When we are giving walkthroughs to our developers or engineers, then also the dependencies are identified. What we do in our project is, instead of creating a risk register in an Excel file, we have created a Kanban board on Jira itself, where we create all the dependencies as issue type over there. And every sprint planning and refinement sessions, me as a scrum master, it's my responsibility to identify which are the dependencies are there, which are pressing and related to our sprint and current backlog. And to mitigate those, we should keep having the discussions in every sprint planning to you know uh, identify and understand where the dependencies lie. So at the moment I work in scale agile, so we have dependencies on different teams. So we have to align those
Mm-hmm.
teams and have SOS calls in order to mitigate those dependencies.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a process that you follow in your company. As I said, different companies, different process, different ways. So that's thanks for sharing your point of view, Hasnan. That's helpful. Yeah. We have this Excel file. All these requirements are there in this Excel file. We have to import these requirements from Excel file to our Jira, right? So there's a functionality in your wait a minute. Let me share another screen. Oh, I got my old board back. Is my screen still visible? Can you see this backlog now? Can you please confirm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All
Ankit.
right. So guys, see what I have done. So in that Excel, we have seen luckily I have found my other board where I had already created that all these stories. So now, what were the stories that we had created in that Excel sheet? We had talked about all the different kind of epics, right? We talked about browsing product is one epic, then managing cart, checking out, and then managing account. So these are the four epics that we have created. Let me show you how these epics are created by creating final epic. So the final epic that we had in the Excel sheet was handling orders. So I'm just copying those requirements. I am adding the description here. Okay, I'm assigning it to myself, or I can just keep it unassigned, or I can assign it to anyone, right? And then I will write my team's name if I have one, okay? And then I am going to create it. Okay, so as soon as I created this epic, you will observe like the epic is visible on the left hand side. This is the navigation bar, right? You can hide this epic by clicking on epic here, and you can just uncheck this epic and it will become invisible. If you click it back, it will become visible, right? So if you open these epics, what you will see, nothing is there under them at the moment. These things are not visible. Okay, so now we also have created some of the stories. So this is the backlog, right? So if you go and check, let us say if I click on browsing product, so in this particular epic we have created these four stories. View product categories is one story, user story. Search for products is second user story. Filter and sort product is third user story. Then view product details is the fourth user story. So till now, your business people can come and have a look at these stories, and they will understand what is happening on the board, right? Now, till now, we have collected all these requirements. Now, as a next step, what you will do, you will go, your product owner will go into the planning meeting or the refinement meeting, and your developers and product owner will have a discussion. Let us say your product owner want to discuss about this particular story, view product categories. So what he will do, he will open this story. Can you see this story open? View product categories. Can you please confirm?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now this story is created, and in this story, what we have done, we have written the description also. As a user, I want to view product categories to easily find products, and then I have also added acceptance criteria in description only. But generally, for a writing acceptance criteria, you will be having a separate space by the name of acceptance criteria. But in my team, I write acceptance criteria and description in the same place. That again, it depends on company to company, right? Now I am a product owner. I am discussing this story with my developers, and now my developers are going to create technical tasks. For this particular story, how will they create those technical tasks? They will add a child issue button, and then you have to select what kind of ticket you want to create. So now it is automatically creating subtask. I don't want to create a subtask. What I will do, I will go back and I will create tasks. Okay, now I'm going to create task for view product categories. So what were those tasks? Let me see. Okay. Okay, so this is one of the tasks that I have created for this. So we are going to create a design, and I have written a description also. You can expand this description. Your developers will expand this description, right? And again, they have to write down some acceptance criteria for this task as well. Then you can assign this to a developer. Then what else? Okay, so this was one task. Let me quickly create some two or three tasks more, and then we'll begin this discussion further. Now the second technical task that we are creating category navigation JavaScript, and I am assigning this task to Dahlia. And then the third task that we are going to create is test category links, and it will be manual manual testing that we'll be doing. And I'm assigning the testing tasks to, let us say, Parth Ghosh. Okay. So see what I have done. I have basically from that Excel file, I have just bringing those requirements into our Jira board. So I have first created the epic Okay, so tasks are not visible here. Can anyone tell me like why tasks are not visible here in this chat, in this detail? Any idea?
Yeah, because I think we have not linked
No?
it to any
Hmm?
story.
Yes, yes. So basically, we have not linked it to any story, right? So now let us say these are the two tasks SS 24, 25, 26, and these three tasks are created for this particular product. So you will link issues, right? So link issues means uh, we can say relates to, that is one of the option that is available. Here you can see 24 is the task, and then SS25 is the second task, and SS26 is the third task, right? So see, that's how you are going to link these tickets, right? So now what you have done, so if you look at this navigation at the top, you will observe we are working in Scrum Squad project. And then in that Scrum Squad project, we have browsing products as one of the epics. And within this epic, SS5, that is view product categories, is one of the stories of that epic. And if you further open this subtask, then what you will say, this will change. Now, first of all, what you have done, you have linked this task with a particular story. Till now, I hope everyone is clear with this point till now. Any question till now? Is it getting confused? Anyone getting confused now? Yes, Hemant, you have a question?
Ankit, I have a question regarding the tasks. Suppose the
Yeah.
tasks are common. I mean, for every user stories, we have if we have to create the same tasks, right? So, is there any shortcut to like duplicating the same tasks or
Cloning.
something? Yeah,
You can do
cloning. Yeah.
cloning.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do cloning. You can just check mark when you
Mhm.
are creating ticket. You can just, there is an option, keep the pop-up open. You can just keep it tick and just update the edit the necessary information. There are two ways, right?
Okay.
So that's how you can do that. Okay, cool. Now, if I open, so that's how you are going to. So first of all, that's how you are going to link your stories, right? So let me clear everything. That's how you are create to. That's how you are supposed to create an epic. and then within that epic you have to link your stories, and then with those stories you have to link those tasks, right? In many companies we guys are also using subtasks, right? So that is also there. So if you use subtasks, then automatically you need not to link those tasks with the stories, they are auto linked. Okay, so but again in my company we are, instead of creating subtasks we generally create tasks only if we have to define our technical stuff. Yeah, yeah, Shobha.
Yeah, we click on the linked issue from the stories, right?
Click
And then
on
we,
the.
yeah, where exactly is like how do we actually link the task? I did not get you because I think I lost access or something.
Okay, okay. So for that, what you have to do, you have to open that story. This is the story, right? And here you will have this option of link issues. You can click here, and then this drop down will pop up. You will select relates to, and then you will highlight, you will add the issue key that you want to link to this particular ticket. So once you do this process, so that's how your tickets will become visible here, right? Linked issues. So with this particular ticket, these are the three tickets that are linked to this particular ticket. Yeah, is this clear, Shobha?
Can you just explain because I think I was getting another screen or something. I just lost access once again. I don't know. I
Can you
would
guys see
require.
my screen? Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah, now it's
Now you can see it. Okay. So shall I explain you again?
yes.
Okay, so see, this is the story. If you click on SS5, which is the issue key, it will open this ticket, right? So this is the SS5 ticket that is open. Then you have to link those tasks with this particular story. For that, you will click on link issues. This is the button. Can you see this, Shobha?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
can
If
see.
you click on link issues, then this blank box and drop down will pop up. You have to select relates to as an option from the drop down, and then you will mention the issue that you want to link with this particular ticket. So you can select SS25, and then if you click on link, this ticket will get linked with this particular story, right? So for example, I have added 25, 24, 26. These are the three tickets that I have linked with this particular story. And that's how your linked issues will become visible in a ticket. Is this clear, Shobha?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Cool. So guys, that's how we create tasks and tickets. Now let's go and define some kind of dependencies, right? So again, let's open this SS5 only, right? Now, is this ticket dependent on any other ticket? Uh, no, I guess so. But we had one ticket, view the cart. Okay, so this is the ticket, view the card ticket. If I open this ticket, so what we are understanding is view the card. We cannot start working on this particular ticket until unless our add products to the cart is done. Okay, so we had another product which was this add to cart. This was the other functionality. If I open this also first, right? So see, what I am saying is my Scrum team has to work on view the card ticket. But this view the card ticket cannot be done until unless add products to the cart is done. Right? So basically what we are saying that you can start working on this ticket only and only if your add products to the cart is done, right? So what you will do, you will again link these issues, this issue. So how you will link this? Click on link issue and add products to the cart. This ticket is blocking. Which ticket? This ticket. View the cart ticket is getting blocked by this ticket. So what you will do? Blocks SS10 and you will link it. Okay. Now if you refresh this page, then in your linked section, what you will see, in your linked section you will see like, see, view the cart is blocked by add product to the cart, and currently this particular ticket is also in the to do stage, means the work has not been started yet. So that's how you are going to define the dependencies on the ticket. Is this point clear to everyone, guys? That's how you are supposed to define the dependency. You basically have to map the stories with each other. One story will be blocking, and that's how you are going to see the dependencies on your Jira board. And then later you can create a dashboard of these dependencies at some place, right? We will see how to create those dashboards if we get some time, but we are already running out of time. But yeah, any question? So that's how we define the dependencies among user stories. Is this process clear? Is clear. Okay. Now the next part is we have to understand how to create risks, right? So for that again you will go and create, and you will create a risk ticket, but we do not have a risk ticket here, right? So for that purpose, let's say we are creating bug, right? But this is not a bug ticket. We have to create a risk ticket. Risk is a issue type, different issue type, but I think in free version they do not provide us that, right? So here in summary, you can just write down risk, right? And then what you will do, potential risk due to large product, large product catalog, right? And you're assigning it to myself. And this ticket blocks, so this particular risk blocks browsing product as a feature. So what we'll write, browsing product, right? And I will create this risk ticket. I have created a bug ticket, but we have to create a risk ticket, right? Now if I open this browsing product ss2, no, that is not ss2. So now if I open this browsing product, so what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing like this particular ticket, this particular feature has these many stories, child stories, and we also have a risk linked with it. So this is the risk that is associated with this particular feature. So like that, what you have to do, you have to highlight all the risks and you have to map those risks and dependencies with a particular feature or a task or a ticket. Yes, Hemant, you have a question?
So the risks can be, we can create with a task or a subtask also we can create.
Sorry, did not get your question, Hemant.
So the risk you have created, did you use the task or subtask?
So I did not use anything. So if you have to create risk, again you have to click on create button, and from
Mhm.
here you have to select the issue type. But because we are using free version of Jira, so we are only having these four kind of issues visible to us: story, task, bug, and epic. Can you guys please mute yourself? Guys, please keep your mic on mute. Yeah. Okay. So Hemant, currently we are using bug because we do not have risk issue type. If we had risk issue type, we would be selecting risk as the issue type.
Okay.
And once
Okay.
that issue is created, then if you scroll down, you will get this option of linked issues, right? So if you are creating a risk, so which ticket will get impacted by this risk, that key you will mention here. So if this risk is impacting this story, you will select this. If it's impacting some other story, you will select that. Yeah. So like that, you will map these risks with the issues. Okay,
Okay.
Hemant?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so till now, what we have done, we have basically gathered the requirement in the Excel format first, right? And once those requirements are gathered, then we created epics on our Jira board, and then within those epics, we linked user stories that are relevant to that particular epic, and then within those stories we have created some tasks, right? These are technical tasks and mostly developers are advised to create them and write acceptance criteria as well, right? And then we also saw how you are supposed to define the dependencies. Again, you have to link different tickets that are dependent on each other, and you have to define the order of that ticket. So basically, you cannot start working on a ticket until unless you resolve that particular dependency, right? And then finally, we talked about the risk. Risk is again another issue type that you have to create, and then you will link all those issues that may get impacted by that risk with that particular risk. Again, you have to use link features option when you create those tickets on your Jira board, right? So that's how you will import your stories from an Excel sheet. Now this was the manual process, but generally there is a functionality in Jira which is known as import by CSV, import from CSV, right? So in paid version, in premium version, you will get that facility. You can just click on that function and you can import all the stories from your Excel file to your Jira directly. We are using free version, therefore I cannot show you how to use that functionality. But go on YouTube and learn about import from CSV functionality, right? You will gain more understanding about it. All right, guys. So till now, what we have covered? Till now, we have covered a lot of things, and let me go back to our slide first. So we have discussed this thing, right? I hope you guys can see my PPT. Can you please confirm?
Yes, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So first, what we did in our Excel file, we collected all the requirement. Then we imported these requirement into the Jira, right? So our backlog is ready now. Now backlog is ready. The next step is how are you supposed to prioritize your stories? How are you supposed to create the roadmap? And how are you planning to deliver these requirements to the stakeholder? So till now we are in the halfway. We have just completed 50% of the work. And the next step is to understand about Jira, story mapping, issue types, dependencies, and risks. Right? Yes, Rupsa?
Yeah, Ankit. So I have a question regarding the risk. So, in Jira, can we connect each risk to a story level or to a issue to a task?
Okay, so basically we have three hierarchies till now. We have features, we have stories, and we have technical tasks, right? So if you are talking to stakeholders, then connect your risk at the feature level because that's their priority. Or at user story level, also you can map risk, right? But you can also map risk with task level tickets also because your developers will be creating those risks. And if your tasks are not getting completed, then your user stories or your features will not get completed, right? So basically, it's up to you if you want to link these risks to task or user stories or portfolio. So portfolio epic level, so that's totally up to you. There's no rule like you can only define risk at feature level or story level only. Yeah, Rupsa?
Yeah, got it.
So I generally highlight risk at feature level because risks are mostly observed by the stakeholders. So it makes sense for me to add risk at the feature level or epic level. Yeah. Yes, Ramesh?
Ankit, hi Ankit. The class is
Yeah.
going well. I'm very impressive. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
very new for this Jira section. Okay, so actually, I
Mm-hmm.
want to do practice. So how should I get
Mm-hmm.
the free Jira?
Just
This one.
type Jira on your Google and you will
O-
take on to the Atlassian website. It's a free
Okay.
access, free for
Okay.
1 month.
How many
You can just
assignee we
straight
can able to assign for this free Jira?
4, 5, 10, maybe 10. I don't know, but 10.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
it's free account.
I
You
will.
can just go and understand it. Yeah, very easy.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Thank you.
All right, all right. So, any other question? Anyone? So I hope you are understood with this part, right? I hope my slide is visible to you. You have understood this Excel part and Jira part, right? And now, as a next step, we are going to talk about this story mapping part. Can you please confirm if you can see my screen, my
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
presentation, basically?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, all right. So, guys, before I talk about story mapping, let's talk about Jira or how we are supposed to look at Jira. So, can you just tell me, like, what do you understand by Jira based on this discussion? What have you understood till now? Why we need to use Jira? Don't give me bookish answer, but based on this discussion, what do you think? Why we are using Jira? Just raise your hand, please. Yes, Arda?
Yeah, for user story, managing the user story, prioritizing the user stories, prioritizing all the backlog items for the current sprint. That is how I think Jira is helping us.
Okay, makes sense. Managing and organizing the stories. Yeah. Surbi, what about you?
Yeah, so in my understanding, Jira is a tool where we can have all the things at one place, like whether it is Epic, where the requirements coming from the stakeholder and breaking down and managing the task at lower level. And in those tasks, we can add our efforts as well. So it is one place where everything can be, we can measure like how quantifiable our Scrum team is.
Okay, okay, makes sense. Yes, Ramesh.
As my understanding, everything should be documented and communicated from top level to the bottom level, and we can
Mhm.
easy to tracking the each and every aspects of the process.
Yeah, makes sense. So vision level understanding should be passed till the bottom line.
Yes.
Very correct. Yeah, Ramesh. Yes, Sugandha.
Hi, Ramesh. From my understanding, it is for the broad. It is also can be seen from the project management perspective from the top level to give the status of the project, that where we are on the development part. It helps to collaborate, like it lets the teams collaborate on the working part,
Hmm?
gets the transparency around the work they are doing, and maybe what is the stucking point and all, get that clarity. And from the management perspective, understanding what all has been developed and delivered, and wherever we are stucking, any impediments or anything. So all those
Okay. Okay.
perspectives,
Overview, big picture. Big picture.
yeah,
You are getting big picture basically. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Along with deep diving of into the project
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah, so granular level information is there, high level information is there, and you are able to visualize everything. Yeah.
Correct. And
Okay.
coordination between the teams
Yeah. Yeah.
for the
So, so final definition. Shekhar, what about you? This will be the final answer. Yeah.
Yeah, as per me, it's a project management tool, or you can say task management tool or workflow management tools, which helps to create the transparency around the organization or around the project.
Okay. Okay. Make sure. Fair point, Shekhar. Yeah. So let me just try. All these definitions are correct definition, and you can add more sophisticated words to make it more complex or to make it sound like very smart. But at the very basic level, what we are exactly doing. See, we have received some work from stakeholders, right? They have assigned some work to us, which we have to complete. We are using Jira just to manage that work that we have to do as a team, right? So the work that is assigned to my team should be placed somewhere. We simply cannot have an Excel sheet and we cannot keep on sharing that Excel sheet with everyone, right? It will not be very efficient. People might not understand if they have to update status, so it's very hard to manage Excel sheet. So in that Excel sheet, all the work that your team has to complete is written. Now that work should be transferred to a place so that it becomes visible to everyone and people can communicate and collaborate at that common place, right? And that common place is Jira. So on Jira, you are doing nothing but you are managing the work that is assigned to your team. And therefore, Jira is also known as work management tool because you are managing the work of your team there, right? So all these tickets are nothing else but the work. Your developers will sit and they will do design, code, and test, right? So therefore, Jira is used to manage the work of your team. Yes, Jagannath, you have a question?
No, no, I mean, just adding to the all the points raised by the team members. Like one advantage from this thing is like this is a kind of a shared tool where we can track the progress of our current project. And one benefit is like if suppose some task or some user story is assigned to some person, if he is not there or maybe he may go to the leave or something like that, those stories can be reassigned to the different people.
Yeah,
There is
so
also advantage
transparency. You are
from this.
talking
Yeah,
about
transparency.
transparency,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, all these things are benefits, but at the very fundamental level, you are just storing work of your team on Jira, and then all these things are benefits: transparency, communication, collaboration, progress, risk, dependency, detailing. All these things are benefits of managing your team's work on Jira. So Jira is nothing else but a work management tool, right? So that's why we are using Jira.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's talk about story mapping, right? This is very important. Now see what we have done. We have collected the requirement. We have created a product backlog on our Jira also, and all those stories are there on Jira also, right? Now we have to decide on which story we have to work first and on which story we have to work last. So we have to define that order, right? We have to prioritize our stories. So for prioritizing our stories in the backlog, we have to understand the concept of story mapping. It is very easy, and your stakeholders, your Scrum team should sit together and they have to do the story mapping part. Okay, can anyone tell me like what do you understand by story mapping, or anyone ever done the story mapping part? Someone, your hand is up. You must have done from your product director. So, you will be knowing a lot of stuff, Shikhar. But I would like to give opportunities to someone else also. Anyone, any idea about story mapping? What story mapping is? No. Okay. All right. So this brings, yeah, someone has unmuted.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand. So when we
Yeah.
talk about story mapping, let's say we have an epic or some features prioritized and identified by business analyst and reviewer. So according to the priorities and the requirements, whatever user stories are created, how they are mapping to the features and epics and to the priority
Mm-hmm.
as an overall to the project vision is called story
Mm-hmm.
mapping according to me. How it gives a holistic
Mm-hmm.
picture about the
Mm-hmm.
requirement.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So basically, a bird eye view. We get a bird eye view, right? Okay. Makes sense.
Adding to that, we can rearrange all the user stories based on their priorities and the dependencies and what are the risk involved into it. We can see the complete what you can say overview of that particular product backlog by using story
Yeah.
mapping.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. True. So we are going to discuss about story mapping, but guys, I have to just go and fill my bottle. So that's first thing. And so can you guys please confirm if you can see my screen, my presentation? Okay, able to
Yes.
say with Pandey has said. All right, great. So guys, see, story mapping is basically used to strategize the releases, right? When are you going to release what? So basically, if you have to create a roadmap for your team, then story mapping is the first step, and it's very strategic in nature. So whatever we have discussed till now in that Excel sheet, what we did, we had OKRs first. Based on those OKRs, we created epics. Based on those epics, we created stories, right? So we are going to do the same thing again, but in story mapping we are going to think from the end user perspective. The first thing that we have to do whenever we do a story mapping, we have to think about the user journey, how exactly a user is going to behave on our product, right? So based on that behavior we are going to do the story mapping. Let me show you an example. So if you look at this column, if you look at the title of these columns, you will see the first column title is browsing product, managing cart, checking out, managing account, handling orders. I hope you remember, like, these are the names of the epics that we have created. Can you please confirm that you are with me? Can you please confirm that? Are you understanding this thing?
Yes.
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 If you want, I can repeat. Okay, you understand, right? But just for the sake of clarity, let me again show you what I am talking about. So guys, see what we had done here. We had created OKRs. I hope you can see my Excel sheet. Can you please confirm quickly?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay. So we had created this OKR, and based on this OKR, what we did, we created these epics, right? These were the five epics: browsing products, managing cart, checking out, managing account, and handling order. And then within these epics, we had created stories for each of these epics, right? Till this, we had done already. Now, what we have to do, we have to map. So this is the same thing that we have done on this presentation also. If you observe, the title of each of these columns are nothing else but those epics that we had created based on the OKRs that we had received. Now I hope everyone understood why we are naming these columns like this, right? Correct? Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So now what we did afterwards, in browsing products, we have this option. In browsing products, we created these four stories, right? View product categories, search for products, filter and sort products, view product details. So all these stories we had created for this particular epic. Similarly, we had created different kind of stories for different epics, right? So if you observe this top column, top row, you will observe like this row defines the journey of a user, right? A user opens the application, then user will browse the product. Once he likes the product, he will move that product into the cart. Once he is comfortable with the pricing, he will do the checkout, and then he can also manage his account. He can update information, he can edit address and all those stuff. And then finally he can also start handling the orders. He can track the order, he can return, exchange, or contact support. So this is a typical journey of a user on an e-commerce application, right? And based on this journey, stories are mapped. So if I take you to the next slide, so the I have added this first column, and here I have written user story. So this first row explain the user story, and all this this first row explains the user journey, and then all these stories that are highlighted in yellow color, these stories will be developed by our Scrum team as a part of MVP. We'll talk about MVP in a moment, but all these yellow stories will be developed as a part of MVP. Once the MVP is released, then in the second version of MVP or version 1 of our MVP, We will develop these orange stories. Filter and sort products will come as a second version. Update profile, request and return. And then finally, in second version, we will release view order history or track my order. Right? So what we have done now, what we have done here, just a moment. I think someone is waiting. Okay, cool. So what we have done, we first of all at the top we have written the user journey, like this is how a user will navigate on our website, and then based on their journey we have created stories that we have to complete. To complete this epic, the story should get completed, right? And then because we have to prioritize each of these functionalities, we cannot develop everything and release everything at once. We have to deliver these stories one by one. We have to complete these functionalities one by one. Therefore we have to prioritize them, and the first prioritization will come from MVP, like the basic product that we can release in the market, so that users can start using it and they can start submitting their feedback for the product. And based on that feedback that we will receive from the customers, we will start adding more functionalities, right? So that's how we are going to map these stories with the versions. Some people call it as versions, some people call it as releases also, right? Are you guys with me till now? Are you guys understanding this concept of story mapping? Any question if you have, please raise your hand if you're not understanding anything. No question? Okay.
Just one question. So
Yeah,
when
Jagana.
exactly the story mapping will be done? Is it like once we have done with a product backlog
No, no,
requirement, or
initially,
like
this
in
is
which
a,
phase initial itself, right?
it happens once your requirements are gathered, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after requirement you have to prioritize, right? You have to tell your stakeholders what they are going to get in the first 3 months, then in next 3 months. So you have to give that idea to your stakeholders, right? So at that time you
Okay.
have to sit, your scrum team and your stakeholders should sit together and they have to do this story mapping activity, like this is how
Mm-hmm.
we are mapping the story, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
based on this story mapping you will create your roadmap, right?
Okay. Okay.
So in the beginning, when you are collecting the requirement, these things will happen at that point in time. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Thank you.
So this is the concept of story mapping. So if you do not have any questions, so that's good. Yes, Rupsa.
Yeah, Ankit. So here we will use the different prioritization techniques to come to these stories, right? For MVP, we require these stories for version one.
Mm-hmm. Can you please
So
repeat your question, Rupsa?
yeah, my question is like, how are we coming, I mean, reaching to these user stories that for an MVP, we require we view products category, search for products. So how are we coming to this result or to this list? Are we using some
Okay.
prioritization techniques or how it
Yeah.
is?
So see, first of all, you have to understand the concept of MVP initially, Rupsa, right? So let me give you an example how to understand an MVP. So you're using WhatsApp, right, Rupsa? You're using WhatsApp. So what's the basic purpose of WhatsApp? What's the most basic purpose of WhatsApp, Rupsa?
Messaging.
Messaging, IM, instant messaging, right? So that's the basic purpose. But today you are able to make calls, you are able to make video calls, you are able to click pictures, you are able to send money, transfer money, you are able to build communities, and you are able to market, you are able to use WhatsApp to spread awareness or marketing campaigns also, right? So most fundamental uh, purpose of WhatsApp is messaging or chatting, but now you're doing a lot of other stuff also. So initially, when WhatsApp released, right, when WhatsApp released this functionality, it was only for messaging. But then WhatsApp started receiving the feedback from the customers. They understood the customer, like, okay, if we start adding this file attaching, or if we start adding the UPI services, so these things will be beneficial for our customers. So basically MVP is the minimum viable product. So this is the basic version of the product that your users can use and can submit their feedback. I mean, just imagine if you have to release a Facebook application or a WhatsApp application, you cannot send you cannot do one-to-one chatting, but you can log into WhatsApp, you can create your account, you can send photo, but you cannot do chatting. Do you think that product will be useful for you in any sense, Ruksa?
No, I mean,
No.
basic
Well,
it can be, but not much.
yeah. So basically, whenever you release a product, and that product should be released with some basic functionalities, then only your customers will start using it, right? If those basic functionalities are missing from your product, then there is no sense in releasing that product. And that is the concept of MVP. Whenever you talk about MVP, then this product should have at least minimum basic functionalities in it that can be used by your end customers. And based on the feedback that you receive from your end customer, you will plan your next versions or releases or upcoming features that you want to add to your application, right? So for example, in your e-commerce application, initially you only released it so that people can browse product, right? So if in this example, so if you are releasing an e-commerce, if you're releasing e-commerce product and you're not allowing your users to view the product category, do you think they will be using your product? That is like the basic functionality of an e-commerce, right, Luksa?
Yeah.
So all these yellow items are the basic functionalities that you should have at least in your e-commerce application. And then you can add filter and sort product. This is an added feature that you can add, but this is not the basic. This is an extended version, extended feature that you can add. This is a good to have feature, so you can release it in the second release, but all these yellow functionalities should be there in the first release only. These are the basic functionalities that you have to release, right? And then within these functionalities you can now do prioritization, right? Now your stakeholders and product owner, they can just sit and start discussing like, okay, out of these three functionalities, which functionality do you need, right? Now your stakeholder can say like, I need view product details first. Now here your PO will tell them like, no, you cannot have view product details first without having product categories and search for products, right? So your product owner will help your stakeholder understand these dependencies. Like, I have to prioritize view product categories above search and then above view product details, because each of these stories are dependent on each other. And similarly, your product owner will prioritize these stories, and your PO will justify the rationale behind those prioritization to your stakeholders as well as to your developers. Making sense, Ruksa?
Yes, Ankit. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I
Shobha.
also have
Yes,
one
yes,
more
Ruksa.
question. That
Yeah.
is, what is the difference between MVP and MMP? Minimal
Uh,
marketable product and minimal viable product. What is that
okay, so
difference?
again, out of the context question, but let me just give you a quick comment on this. So MVP is basically the product that you can release and you can collect feedback, and then you can evolve your product based on the feedback that you're getting, right? MMP is minimum marketable product. So basically, if you have to market some product, then you have to spend some money, right? And that money should be spent in context of the expected profit that you can get out of it, right? So mostly MMP products have some extra functionalities for which your end customers are ready to pay, right? So if your product has reached to that level that end users will use it and they will also pay for it, then you will go to MMP. Now your product is mature enough, now you can market it. But generally you do not market your MVP products because you are not going to monetize, so there's no sense in investing in that particular product. You can just distribute it freely so that end users
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
actually,
Shobha.
you said that the story mapping is done before we create the roadmap. But so that means that the PO does the story mapping, or who exactly does the story mapping?
So everyone should participate in the story mapping process. Your stakeholders should be there, your PO should be there, your developers should be there. But it is a responsibility of a product owner because ultimately these stories are listed in your product backlog. And your product owner is the owner of product backlog. So if anything is happening in a product backlog, then it belongs to then it's linked with the product owner generally, right? And as a scrum master you have to teach these things to your product owner. You have to help your product owner in doing the story mapping. You have to explain them the concept, like how they're supposed to do this, right? So mostly your stakeholder and product owner should sit together and they have to do the story mapping part. And of course your scrum team should also be there so that they understand what they are supposed to build. Making sense, Shobha?
Yes. Got it.
Yeah. Yes, Anil?
Yeah, hi Ankit. So just to
Yeah.
add on is like we do use these prioritization techniques like Moscow, Kano, and all, right, for prioritizing these stores again. The product owner uses. So adding to your point, that was the one I wanted to add on. That's all.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes. So there are different techniques which we definitely can use, right? Hmm. Yes, Shekhar?
I just want to add one point that is related with the prioritization methods. I believe common sense or the user
Yeah,
requirement journey is the best way to do the prioritization. Means we have lots of models like RISE, Opportunity Solution Tree, Kano, Moscow, but these are only a theory. And in real life, I
yeah,
don't think in my 20 years of experience, I don't believe I ever use these models. Most of the time, I use common sense or what is the based on
yeah,
the user journey.
yeah, yeah. So user journey is very easy to implement and it's very effective when it comes to create a story mapping graph. Yeah, very, very true, Shekhar. And of course, it's a common sense. It's not something very technical in nature. Yeah, cool. So that's how you do the story mapping, and that's how you are going to. So based on this story mapping, you will go to your Jira board and you will link your stories as per this story mapping, right? So in your Jira map, maybe you will go and you will link the dependencies. You will highlight the risk. Yes, Shobha.
So we do the prioritization after the story mapping, right? Using
So
all
in
those
story mapping
techniques.
also, you have to do prioritization, right?
Yeah, like the MVP, the minimum viable product,
Yeah,
what exactly?
right. So you have to do prioritization here also. Okay, cool. So now based on this story mapping, what you will do, you will go to your Jira board and you will list all these stories and you will highlight the dependencies, and then you will start working on it in the format of Scrum or Kanban, whatever format that you are following, right? So that's how generally story mapping is done. Next part is issue type. So I have already told you like there are different kind of issue types that you have to understand. Most commonly used issue types are epics. After epics, you create user stories, then subtasks, then tasks, and then bugs, and then spikes. So there are different kind of issue types. Issue types are nothing else but a piece of work that is assigned to your team, and your team has to complete it, right? So these are different kind of issue types that we have. And then finally dependencies. If you have to understand dependencies, then if somebody asks you like what's the difference between a dependency and a risk, can somebody tell me the difference between a dependency and a risk? You can raise your hand, give it a try. Yeah, Shikhar?
Dependency is basically is nothing but the dependent of one task on another task. For example, we can't log in without a registration. To register, it
Hmm.
means कि login is dependent upon the registration.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
right.
And risk is basically if we are not doing the proper security checks. For example, if you're
Hmm.
creating a registration, but if you are not doing
Hmm.
some sort of what you say, means, key generation methods or
Hmm.
encryption, it can be very easily get hacked. So
Hmm?
not implementing what you say, encryption while doing a registration is a risk.
Hmm? Hmm? Okay. Okay. That's one way. Yeah. Yes, Sarda?
Yes, adding to it, like risk is something unknown, risk might be unknown. So we are
Hmm?
trying to mitigate it. But in case of dependencies, we already know this is my task, and my task has dependency with the other this task, and with stakeholder might be, or with yeah, I might have dependency with certain domain or technology, those kind of things with stakeholder. But in case of risk, it is generally unknown. So that's why we register it and try to mitigate.
Okay. Makes sense. Unknown risks are unknown. Okay. Ruksa, what about you?
So basically, dependency is a prerequisite. We require that
Hmm?
it pass thing
Hmm?
or a prerequisite. And for me, risk is like uncertainty.
Hmm? Hmm? Risk
So
is uncertainty. Okay. Okay. So close, right? So see, whenever people ask you like what's the difference between a dependency and risk, because once you become Scrum Master, these are the questions that you'll be facing, right? So there are two things that you have to remember to differentiate between a risk and a dependency. Okay. So first thing is certainty, right? So dependencies are certain; they are there, right? They are not imaginary stuff. They are there. They are real. But risks are uncertain. You don't know if they will become a reality or not. This is first thing. Second major difference between both of them is uh, second difference is basically dependencies are important to order the activities, to order the stories, right? So dependencies are useful to define the order of your backlog, right? For that dependencies are used. But risks are necessary to put this contingency plan in place so that if something unexpected, uncertain happens, what action you are going to take. So your risk will talk more about the negative impacts of a situation on your project, whereas your dependency will be talking about the ordering of the activities in your product backlog, right? So that's how you have to understand. Risk is associated with that impact, negative impact of the project, and dependencies are related to the ordering of your product backlog items. I hope this difference is clear to everyone. Yeah. So like that, you have to explain. Any questions from risk and dependencies? Anyone? No. Okay. All right. And then finally, we have risks. So risks are nothing else but this is just a definition. You can go about it. So that was the definition, guys. So that was the thing that I wanted to discuss with you. I just wanted to give you an overview. So let me give you a quick recap of everything that we have understood till now, and then we can just have a question and answer discussion so that we can add more. We can add more knowledge, right? So we started our discussion with the three individuals. We had one stakeholder, one product owner, and developers. Initially, we discussed the dynamic between a stakeholder and a product owner, where we understood how requirements are gathered from stakeholders, right? So we collected the requirement in the form of OKR, and then we broke down those OKRs into epics, and then we converted those epics into user stories and then tasks. At the same time, while we were gathering those requirements, we also try to highlight the dependencies between those tasks so that we can put a correct order uh, in our product backlog, right? And then we also try to define the risks that we may face at the time of developing uh, those stories, right? So these were the three things that we discussed in the beginning of the session. And once these requirements were gathered by a product owner opens Jira and he creates a backlog and he imports all those requirements on Jira, right? And Your product owner will sit with your developers in the refinement meeting, and your product owner and developer will further break down these high level user stories into technical tasks. These tasks are mostly written by developers who are going to create those stories, who are going to implement those functionalities, right? So that's how your requirements are gathered from stakeholders and uploaded in a product backlog in Jira. And then in that Jira, we also understood how you are going to define the dependencies. So you basically have to create two tickets, and if you need to link those two tickets, you have to create. There's an option of link issues in Jira. You click on link issues, and you link all these dependencies and risk with a particular ticket, right? Once your product backlog is ready, then what you will do? You will do the story mapping. In story mapping, you will talk about the MVP, right? What are the basic functionalities that you are going to release as your first release? And then, based on the feedback that you will be receiving from your end customers, you will start adding more stories into your story mapping that you can release in the subsequent versions or releases. So based on that story mapping, you are going to create a plan or a roadmap. Now, maybe in the next session, I will teach you how to create a roadmap with the help of story mapping. But I hope today this session is more than enough. So I hope everyone understood what I wanted to explain you guys. So please raise your hand if the session is not clear, if you want to share any kind of feedback, if I missed something that you were expecting. Okay, any questions? Anyone? If you wanna raise any questions, no questions. Okay, all right. So guys, yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for joining the session, and you guys were a wonderful audience. Actually, I really enjoyed this session as well. So guys, if you need all this content that I have just shared with you, if you need this Excel sheet, or if you want to have this PPT, so what's that? Okay, so if you need that PPT, so guys, you really have to do me a favor. As I told you, you really have to like that YouTube channel, and you have to just send me the screenshot, and I'll send it to you right on WhatsApp. Just send me like, okay, you have followed or you have subscribed that YouTube channel. I think Rizwan is here. Rizwan was the guy I think who suggested me to start this YouTube channel. Other than Rizwan, there were a
Yeah,
couple
I
of
am there.
members
I'm
also.
here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
So I hope Rizwan, you at least have subscribed to the channel, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
so
Yeah.
so kindly promote that channel. If I get more, and feel free to comment in that YouTube channel also.
Yes,
Hopefully very
absolutely.
soon I'll start adding those channels, those videos on that channel. Yeah. Okay. So let me quickly share the link again in the chat so that you guys can just follow it if you haven't already. Okay, I've shared the link. Can you please confirm if you can just, if you are able to? Yeah, Shekhar has also shared the link. So do that. All right. All right, guys. So any question, anything that you want to discuss? We only have 6 minutes remaining in this meeting. Anything that you want to discuss? Or any feedback from anyone, please just raise your hand and submit your feedback. It will be helpful for me. I will refine my content accordingly.
Yeah, thanks, Ankit. The session was really helpful. But I was looking for more thing like in Jira, writing the JQLs. So that kind of stuff I was looking forward. That will help, in case I have to filter the Jira based on sprint or label. So how can I use those JQLs?
Okay, let me try to do that right away. If we can do that quickly. Okay,
Hi,
so yes.
Ankit. Actually, on Monday or maybe Tuesday, I'm taking the session on Jira. If anyone is
Yeah.
requested, they can join 9 p.m. call.
Yeah, that will be helpful. So Rizwan, so guys, can you please get in touch with Rizwan? Rizwan, can you just ping in that group and ask ask everyone to contact you? So that will be
Yeah,
very
sure.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sophie, I think that session will be more helpful for you, right? But let me just quickly give
So,
you a summary. So here you will get this option of filters. You will just view all filters. Nothing is there. Actually, this is the first time when I'm using Jira Cloud. In my company, we use Jira Server. Mm, all issues. Okay. Okay. So basically, see what we are doing. So if you wanna see, so this is the place where you will just write your queries, right? So I can see team name. God. So if I'm just writing teams, these are the epics that are becoming visible to me, right? So these are the epics that these are the epics that are assigned to a team like this, right? So I don't think Surbi I will be able to explain you all these things actually quickly. I
no
just realized
problem. Yeah.
because yeah, I actually have to spend a lot of time in short. But yeah, that is the location where you have to start using jQuery. So get in touch with Rizwan, and in my next session, I have already shared the link of uh, of an Excel with everyone. So you can write down your question, and in that, based on that content, based on that request, I will try to organize future sessions for you guys. Yeah, yeah, Shobha.
Yeah, could you please help us with the dashboard and metrics? You said if you have time, you will be quickly explaining it.
No, dashboard, they are more complicated than this.
Okay,
Again, we
then
have to create filters, and then based on filters, we have to
okay.
create dashboard.
So we
So in
can
the
do
next
it.
session, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we only have approximately 2:45, 2 minutes left now. So can be done.
Yeah, just a suggestion, Ankit. Next time, let's plan on some other platform, not in Zoom again.
Yeah. Next time we'll go for Google Meet. In fact, this is the
Yeah,
first time
because
that
it
I'm
breaks your
using
flow even.
Zoom.
I can understand.
Yeah.
Completely
Exactly.
understandable.
This is the first time that I'm using Zoom actually. All right, guys.
Normally,
So if,
each
yeah, yeah,
subscription
Anil.
it takes around 1,000 to 1,500 Ankit. Like if we want to get it.
Yeah. So I really have to check if I need that because all these recordings are necessary for my YouTube channels only. So I will just go and check the quality of this content, and if I think that it's worth it, then I'll go for the premium package. Else, I'll just record the videos and upload on YouTube channel so that you guys can have a look there also.
Sure, Ankit.
Okay. Cool guys. So if we do not have anything else to discuss, so thank you so much for joining the call. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and get in touch with me also on LinkedIn, and stay very active on Telegram and WhatsApp, and please talk to me. And after this session, I'll be calling couple of you based on the information that you have shared with me in that form. And many of you are looking for some extra support. I will talk to you guys after this meeting also. And if you want to outreach me, if you need any kind of session or support, please feel free to contact me. We will just schedule one session for you guys as well. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the call. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot, Ankit. Thank you.
Thanks, Ankit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Yeah,
Ankit.
thanks, Ankit.